The story begins with the male protagonist awakening in a state of alarm, finding Yamagami-san smiles down at him with an unnerving intensity, declaring she will take care of him for his entire life and that everything is now alright, leaving him confused and distressed about how he ended up in such a situation. The narrative then shifts to an earlier time, when the male protagonist was filled with optimism, having just started a new job where his coworkers seemed pleasant, and feeling fortunate that a kind girl, Yamagami-san, lived next door. He was full of cheer, ready to embrace his new, happy life as a productive member of society. However, his initial hopes quickly dissolved as he realized the company he worked for was exploitative, valuing overtime as a service, and leading many colleagues to quit. He soon found himself utterly exhausted, working late into the night with a deadline looming and no trains left to take him home, regretting the direction his life had taken. Upon finally reaching his apartment, looking incredibly weary, he was approached by Yamagami-san, who was returning with groceries and expressed concern, noticing the deep dark circles under his eyes and asking if he was alright. He awkwardly explained he had an unexpected task, and she insisted he needed proper sleep before offering him an energy drink, which she playfully called a magic potion, suggesting it would help with his tiredness, making him perceive her as an angelic figure. Yamagami-san continued to show a caring demeanor, advising him not to push himself too hard and to go home and rest soon, which he appreciated while also observing her appearance before she closed her door. Later, back in his own apartment, the male protagonist felt even more drained than he had imagined, not even having the energy to take a bath, and he found that lately, meeting Yamagami-san was the only comforting aspect of his life. Suddenly, a loud noise startled him, and he realized his balcony railing was about to collapse, revealing a distressed cat hanging on. Despite the perilous situation and the crumbling structure, he impulsively lunged forward, determined to save the cat. Just as he was about to fall, Yamagami-san, having heard the commotion, rushed out and quickly grabbed him, preventing a dangerous fall. As she pulled him back to safety, he landed against her, and she hugged him tightly. He found her embrace surprisingly warm and soothing, but then remembered the endangered cat and felt a pang of conscience, realizing he needed to get up. However, Yamagami-san held him even tighter, her expression turning subtly worried. She then held him close, cradling his head in her lap, and gently warned him that continuing down his current path at work would only lead to more such exhaustion. He seemed to have fallen asleep peacefully in her lap, and she looked down at him with a tender smile, wishing him sweet dreams. The male protagonist then woke up in a state of confusion, questioning his whereabouts and why his hands and feet were tied. He looked around and saw multiple monitors displaying live feeds of his own room, a chilling realization that he was being watched. Yamagami-san then appeared, asking if he had woken up, and he immediately recognized her. She calmly explained that he had fainted from exhaustion, so she had brought him to her room. Still disoriented, he then questioned why his room was being shown on the screens. Yamagami-san then confronted him, misinterpreting his attempt to save the cat as an attempt to end his own life, which deeply shocked him. He tried to explain it was a misunderstanding about the cat in the tree, but she interrupted him, pulling him into a firm, gentle embrace that cut off his explanation, still seemingly convinced of her initial interpretation. She then confessed that she had been watching over him continuously, 24 hours a day, always thinking about him, admitting she had previously felt she wasn't good enough as she hugged him even tighter, causing him to become visibly distressed and tearful. Yamagami-san approached him with a determined look, stating she no longer wanted to simply observe from a distance, and with a confident smile, declared her intention to show him the wonderful aspects of life and to take care of protecting him from now on. She then suggested he quit his job, assuring him she would care for him no matter what and would not leave him alone for even a moment. He seemed surprised by the extreme nature of her commitment, and she further asserted that they would live together, and she would accept everything about him, reiterating that she had always been watching him as if this was a known fact. The male protagonist, who had initially viewed his neighbor as a benevolent presence, was utterly stunned by her intense and controlling revelation, realizing she possessed a far more unsettling personality than he could have ever imagined. Yamagami-san then proceeded to reveal a more intense side of her personality, showing an alarming awareness of his private preferences and stating her desire to fulfill them completely. The male protagonist was deeply disturbed, realizing the extent of her intrusive surveillance, as she confessed her intention to keep him entirely for herself, demonstrating a profound and overwhelming possessiveness that completely changed his perception of her.